Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidi. It's time now for our hashtag Africa Focus segment, where we take a closer look at the biggest headlines on the continent, the developments shaping African nations, and the stories that deserve more attention than they often get. Today, our eyes turn to Sudan, a nation still in the grip of a brutal conflict. Over the weekend, at least 40 people were killed when the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF for short, launched a deadly attack on a displacement camp near Al Fashar in North Darfur. The camp was home to civilians, many already displaced by earlier waves of violence. The United Nations says these repeated assaults could amount to war crimes, yet the fighting between the RSF and Sudanese armed forces, the SAF, continues to rage on, leaving millions without safety, food, or shelter. And to help us unpack the situation on the ground, I'm now joined by Sudanese journalist Saeed Abdalla. Brother Saeed, welcome to Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time this morning, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all ours. I think let's start with the latest. What do we know so far about this attack on the displacement camp in Al Fashar for our listeners? If you can just set the scene and backdrop of what really happened in that part of Sudan.
So on Monday, heavily armed fighters from the Sudanese Rapid Support Forces, as you mentioned, they're known for RSF. They stormed part of the Abshuak displacement camp, which is near to Al Fashir, the capital of North Darfur, in the west of Sudan. So according to the local rights group, they attacked residents inside their homes. At least, from what we know, 40 people were killed and 19 others injured. This attack is a part of a wider escalation in Sudan's ongoing civil war, which has already displaced millions and left vulnerable community on the brink of starvation. Abshuak, this camp, established in 2004, early in 2000 when the Darfur war was going on earlier, 20 years ago, and which is also 2.5 kilometers from Al Fashir, just next to the city, I think in the northeast. It's after the war in 2023 erupted in Sudan. This was a shelter for around 450,000 displaced people. And since the outbreak of the conflict, the camp, along also with another camp called Zamzam, has faced repeated assaults, including artillery bombardments, and that caused devastating humanitarian losses at the camp and all the surrounding area of Al Fashir.
And one thing that's really, really concerning is this is not the first time that camps for displaced people have been targeted in this war. Why are these areas meant to be safe zones being attacked at this rate and in this very, very brutal nature?
So if we can go back a bit, since the war erupted in Sudan, the RSF took control on most of the areas of the west of Sudan. So Al Fashir, it's the last foothold for the Sudanese armed forces, and it's going on for more than 2 years that the RSF are besieging that city and trying just to get to be in control. But the Sudanese armed forces, along with the other military groups, are trying to keep a foot there, because historically and strategically, Al Fashir is an important city for them. So the RSF trying to every day to get closer to that city and try to take control of the city by besieging and cutting all this food, medical supply, and all of these humanitarian needs. The people of Al Fashir, they were trying to flee their homes and go to that. So all the routes that can take them out of Al Fashir was controlled by RSF. Now the only hope for them at that time is just to go to these camps, which is Abshuak or Zamzam. And the RSF are saying that they claiming that part of these military groups are joining them, like fighting from there. So they take this as a way or a reason for to just to fight and to go and attack those camps.
Mm, mm, mm. Just briefly, I'm just looking at the dynamics of this conflict. Where does this attack fit in the bigger picture of the conflict between the RSF and the Sudanese armed forces? Is this part of a military strategy, or is it pure targeting of civilians? Just looking at it from an overview point, and what it ultimately means from now here forward.
For me, that this attack highlights just how quickly the conflict is escalating and how civilians are being targeted across Sudan, not only in Al Fashir, not only in the west of Sudan, but it's like in all of these hot zones of the war in Kurdistan and other cities as well, other places that where the war is still going on. From what we know now, over 12 million people have been displaced in Sudan, and more than displaced, and more than 40,000 killed. This is only the official numbers, and that's not. It's like from the people that's been on the ground. This is not even closer to that, to the real numbers. Aid agencies warn that the country is on the brink of unprecedented humanitarian disaster, with famine, displacement, and violence spiraling out of control. So this is it. It has been going now for almost 2 years and a half. In the next 2 months, and there's no solution that we can see. It's only like today you can like the Sudanese armed forces can gain certain areas or territories, and the RSF will gain another one, and it's only the humanitarian crisis is it's getting worse and worse. The only solution for that, I think, it's going to be just for both parties to sit on the table and to go back to the negotiation table, and that's what we are seeing at the moment with what we saw from the news yesterday. That's Al Burhan, the RSF, the army general and the sovereign leader in Sudan. That's it's he met with the U.S. advisor for Africa, and we hope that within the next 1 or 2 months that we can see a long solution in Sudan that can find a political solution to this Sudanese crisis, rather than we find like a war solution. Because from what we understand, that there's no military winning here. There's no military solution for the Sudanese crisis. The only solution is going to be peaceful and a solution come with negotiation and with deeper discussions for the root cause for wars in Sudan.
Most definitely. I think we're going to, on that note, Brother Saeed, really appreciate you giving us the time and giving us the latest in Sudan after that devastating attack.
Thank you so much.
That was Sudanese journalist Saeed Abdalla helping us understand the devastating reality in Sudan right now. This has been our #Africa Focus segment, where we're committed to shining a light on some of these stories, even when the world seems to look away. And I think Sudan at this current moment is one that here on the African continent deserves so much attention. I know there's so much happening in the world right now. Palestine, Gaza at the moment being the biggest talking point. But before, you look into Gaza, we need to be a bit more immediate. Right here on the African continent, we have what has been touted to be the biggest humanitarian disaster that is unfolding on the African continent. And I feel like we're not talking about it enough. We're not being creative enough when it comes to drawing the parallels between what's happening in Gaza, in Palestine, to what's happening in Sudan right now. It just feels like a forgotten war on the African continent that no one cares about, because it's just Africans that are killing each other. But at the end of the day, there are people that are dying. as Saeed mentioned there, it's a stalemate between the RSF and also the SAF. But ultimately, in that stalemate, you have people that are being killed. You have people that are dying. You have people that are migrating. You have a humanitarian crisis where there's literally no food, no aid that is also entering some parts of Darfur in Sudan. And people are starving to death. And if maybe we can't make Sudan, the main conversation at this current moment, looking at the current affairs and the status quo of the day, I think let's draw parallels. Let's include it in the conversation, because, and I think we can all agree at this point that there's an intersectionality of struggles. And I like the language in that is coming, especially from young activists across the world right now, that in the same conversation and breath that they will talk about Gaza, they'll also talk about the DRC, they'll also talk about Sudan, they'll also talk about Myanmar, they'll also talk about other parts of the world where there are human tragedies that are unfolding, and we need to speak about them in the same breath, because all lives are equal at the end of the day, and time and attention, as much as it's difficult, it needs to spread out as much as we can. So yeah, you can give us a conversation. How can we bring Sudan into the conversation? How can we push this agenda of the Sudanese people, which they are begging the world for? They are begging the world to listen, to look, to read, to know and understand about their true and lived realities, and how things have essentially gotten out of hand in that part of the world. More extensively, what do you suggest? What can be done to make sure that the Sudanese struggle is brought to the forefront? As much as we talk about Gaza, as much as we talk about the West Bank and the territories of Palestine that have been occupied, and the horrific genocide that we're seeing unfold in Gaza at this current moment, how can we include what's happening in Sudan also, and for South Africa especially, because this is happening in our backyard. This is happening here on the African continent, and we know ultimately there will be a spillover. It will affect us in one way or the other. You can engage with us. Our studio line is 0116800355. You can send us a WhatsApp on 061-766-0355. This has been our hashtag Africa Focus feature. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with you after this.